Good morning from Loud Radio. This morning we are here with Michael Tirabade. How are you, Michael?
Yeah, not too bad. And just so whoever's hearing this can really hear my name, is Tabaradi.
Oh, sorry, Tirabade.
No problem at all. No problem at all. How you doing?
I'm fine. What about you?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
good.
you
I'm
happy
good.
with us?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So can you tell a little bit about yourself? Can you introduce yourself?
Okay, so obviously my name is Michael Tabaradi, and so professionally I've been working within the NHS for the past 9, 10 years. So that's been various roles such as project management, commissioning, contract development, change management. And really it's been about facilitating people, culture, leadership, but also about commissioning services as well. And really sort of like within the NHS, I've been able to have the opportunity to become a registered coach and mentor for different, whether it's executives, leaders, or just general staff, as well as help them really identify some issues they may be having. So, for example, if you want to get some feedback, something known as a 360 is done. I help them sort of interpret what they understand about themselves and what actions they need to develop moving forward. And then other things I'm involved in is part of the organizational development of my department, helping with their plans and implementation and everything else. Because for me, it's very important to make sure that leadership culture and the right environment for productivity is actually established. So that's just within the workspace. In terms of my business side of things, my focus is heavily on helping people live an honest lifestyle. Because for me personally, when you're honest with yourself, you live a life of authenticity. And when you live a life of authenticity, then you're more likely going to produce successes in your life, you know? And so over the past 4 or 5 years, I've done a lot of public speaking at various different functions, whether it's at a university, group, membership, corporate spaces. I've also been coaching and mentoring a lot of different people around how they can set up their own personal brands, but also about how they can define their purpose in their life and how they can, again, live a life of meaning. And again, I'm a content creator as well, as you found me obviously on Instagram, and an author, as you can see with my books here. And you can choose one, by the way, whichever one you want. So, yeah, for you to choose.
Wow,
just pick and
thank
choose.
you.
Yeah.
Wow. So can you tell us a little bit about your books?
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So we've got the first book. So this one's in red. Understand, Reach, Expand, 15 super effective ways to manage your mind. And this book is really sort of like the fundamentals to really starting to craft what your value system is, what sort of purpose and goals you're trying to achieve in your life, and helping you navigate that, because a lot of people don't really have the right guides. Like we were discussing before, we kind of we're born and we're told stuff, and we have no idea what makes sense for us as an individual. So this is what this book does. The second book, Desire, the cornerstone between nothing and success, is the ultimate sort of like motivational book that really helps you start thinking about things in a different way, so you can become more resilient and so that you can actually achieve what you say you want to achieve. So this is what this book does. And happiness, the fundamental keys to experiencing it daily. So what I do here is I use philosophy and science to talk about what the world has said about happiness, and then I give my own interpretation in terms of what happiness actually is. So those are the 3 books. I'm writing a 4th one, not part of this series, but it's mainly about goal setting, how you set goals, and how you can sort of make sure you're on the right sort of track. So yeah, that's my books.
That's very impressive.
Thank you.
I would like to know, how did you start to embrace this path? How did you start it? How does it come to your mind?
So originally, at the age of 14, I was thinking about what I wanted to do, GCSEs. And in my mind, I originally wanted to do architecture. And so I realized that when I went for work experience, that architecture wasn't necessarily the thing that I wanted to do. I was very bored, and I kind of judged all different types of architecture in one box. And so then I went on to thinking, what do I like? I like people, I like science, I like money, I like prestige. Why don't I do medicine? So then I went down that path. And it took about 10 years from that age to go through exams, speak to different people, work within the NHS directly with consultants for me to realize that actually this is not something I want to do. This is not the lifestyle I want to live. And so it was in 2013-14 where I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I even got mentored by his team, spent thousands of pounds to get mentored by his team, which is really, really useful. And I went on to try on all these different things. So got involved in property investing. Now, I want to make it clear, I didn't invest in any properties at that time, but I bought myself into a huge UK network that knew a lot about property investing. I even dabbled into network marketing for a bit because I was like, oh, what is this whole thing about? And so I tried different things, read loads of books over the years, and I got to a point where I didn't feel fulfilled. In positive psychology, that's known as an existential crisis, which is where you're basically doing, but you're not really doing things that make sense for you. It doesn't provide you meaning. And so during a summer in 2015, whilst I was resting from an operation I had on my shoulder, I realized that I wanted to focus on doing something that made sense to me. And it was not only when I went to an event by Andy Harrington, learning how to do more public speaking. He said something that really stood out. He was like, you can make money from your ideas. And so I was like, whoa, that's powerful. You know, and so I went to more events, went to a Les Brown event, got a VIP ticket there, asked him a question, had no idea what I was going to ask him. And he said to me, wow, do you know what? Like, he didn't say it like this, but he basically said, you've got a really good voice and you should use it. And coming from a man like him, I was like, whoa, I need to use this voice. And so I went on this journey of just doing loads of different videos just for myself, you know. And that's where I started to get more speaking engagements. That's where I started to get people asking me to coach them and mentor them and all these different things. That's where I started to think about writing books, which predominantly was done on my phone, which is a whole different story.
We want to know about that.
But yeah, that's how it started. So it went through a journey of trying things, realizing it wasn't working for me, and then making an honest decision to say, actually, no, let me forget this life. I know I've committed to it. I need to focus on this life instead.
That's interesting because obviously I think it's very deep what you're saying, because sometimes we think that we have to have it all figured out in one time.
Of course.
But it's more like a journey inside to understand what we're good at, what we really like, and what it makes sense to us.
Of course. So
I think it's very important, especially for students that we're here that trying to understand what they want to do in life, the aspiration, and sometimes we have pressure as well from outside our parents, society. So that's very positive what you said, because it's encouraging that we have to start inside and then look outside, right?
Of course.
So which kind of advice would you like to give to someone that want, to start the same career as you?
I would say, is it definitely something that you want to do, and you have to get to a place of really assessing what you enjoy, what you don't like, what you may need to compromise in terms of a lifestyle, because it comes down to values. And if we're thinking about what values are the things that are really important to us as individuals. So if you're guided by your values, then that will automatically navigate what you want to do and what you want to avoid. And sometimes we get confused by what our values are because we've been told what our values are based on our parents, based on siblings, based on seniors, based on teachers, based on friends, based on social media, on what everyone else is saying. You forget to think about what you want as an individual. So I would get to a point of really, really reflecting and thinking about what it is that is important to you. And the way you can extract that is by understanding, what excites you as an individual. What are you enthusiastic about? What interests you? Are there any sort of experiences that have made you feel alive? Are there times or are there sort of like ideal notions in terms of what you would like in a good friend? When was the time where you were at your best? What things don't you like? What things anger you? And so all of these things say things about your values, So I would get really, really deep into that stuff. And once you come out to a point, you'll have a list of things that make sense. So for example, for me, my top value is authenticity. I'm not saying I'm authentic 100% of the time. I can't measure that. but I can feel it, you know, and as long as I feel that emotion, then I know that at least I'm in the right direction, you know. So think about that first before you start racing and running off to stuff, because when you do start racing and running off to stuff, you may get so disappointed that you may forget the dream completely, and you don't want to forget the dream. So come from a place of something that makes sense for you first. Then you can start speaking to different people. Then you can start reading all the books and watching all the YouTube videos and speaking to the right people to start developing a sense of what you're trying to teach or educate people on, you know. And once you get that information, share it. Share it with as many people as possible in many different formats as possible. You know, find opportunities to come onto radio, or find opportunities to speak to different people, find opportunities to coach people for free initially, because all that's doing is giving you the training wheels to then know what to do when you're getting into actual business, when you're exchanging money for a service. And so that would be the advice I would give. Think about what it is that you want first before you start launching yourself into anything else.
That's good. So we're talking about like preparation, like, and how do you think it takes, you know, to get prepared to the point where you know already, like, okay, now I'm ready. Now I'm ready to, you know, to be launched. Now ready to go. How long do you think it takes?
That's a question I can't answer. You don't know. For some people, it may take a week. For some people, it may take 2 years. You know, at the end of the day, you will feel it, and you will get fed up of being in the same situation. One thing that is constant is that, you know, things change. Nothing will ever not change, you know, apart from change, you know. And bearing that in mind, another thing that is constant is time. Time ticks. So with those two constants in your mind, you realize that things are bound to change. You're never going to be in the same situation forever, you know. And so with that in mind, you have to believe that things will change over time. Yes, it requires you to be proactive and take some sort of approach towards it, but sometimes it means that you do nothing, you know. So I'm a great believer in not forcing the situation. You need to maneuver yourself into something that fits in and molds in with you as a person, you know. So I can't say how long that will take, but it will take as long as how honest you will be with yourself. That's how long it will take.
Okay. And also, you were saying earlier about, you know, the companies that surround us, people that can influence like positively or negatively, because I've seen that you posted about something as well, something about like that as well. So can you tell us, you know, what's can be the best companionship for us? You know, which kind of person can help us to achieve our goals, so that can, you know, push us to move forward, to be the best version of ourselves, and people that can actually you know, take us back as well.
Of course.
Can tell us.
So basically, I'm going to say it from a standpoint that you have no money, not you personally, but whoever's listening. Yeah. So let's say you have no money at all. Who do you have in your influence circle? Well, the first thing is you need to think of people who are ambitious and who are objective in nature and want to win in life. You have to think of those people. Okay. So then you need to look in your circle and see, is that a sibling? Is that a family member? Is that a friend? And if it is one of those people, you need to bring them into your circle and decide how you want to develop that relationship. You already know that socially and everything else, you have fun and all that jazz. But from whether it's a business perspective or a goals perspective, how are you going to help each other? Okay. So here are some things that I recommend. Number one, at a basic minimum level, set up an accountability buddy. And all that really means is having someone else that you meet with on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. You sit down for 2 hours and you talk about each other's goals. You talk about progress, you talk about challenges, you talk about what you've learned, you talk about how you feel. You talk about all these things shaped around the primary aim or primary goal that you're trying to achieve. So you take it in turns. One person says what they need to say for an hour, the other person acts like a facilitator or coach, and then you swap and then you do the same thing. Okay, so that's one thing you can do. Second thing you can do is either join a mastermind, so any group that is 3 or more, or create your own, okay? And it's very, very, very important that not just anybody enters this mastermind. It has to be people who are ambitious. It has to be people who are honest with themselves. It has to be people who are objective. It has to be people who are willing to help others as well. They can't just be in there just to take. They need to give as well. And the whole aim of the mastermind is to basically make sure that you get motivation from it, but you get perspectives and learning from it as well. And you can do that on a monthly basis. So again, you can see you can start to develop a system, if that makes sense. Now, whether this is paid for or not paid for in terms of what I'm going to say next, shouldn't sort of stop you from getting what you need to get. So the next two things is getting a coach and getting a mentor. And there's a difference. I just posted something today. So basically, a coach helps you help yourself, okay? As a coach, me as a coach, I do three things. I raise your self-awareness. I make sure that you understand or you can see the choices that you have in your life. And number three, I also make sure that you are solely responsible. That means you have more power. You're empowered to take more action. Your problem-solving skills is heightened, you know, and you believe more in yourself because it's coming from you. It's not coming from me. Whereas with a mentor, it's based on the experiences that they've had in their life, and they can assure what you're saying makes sense because of the experience they've had. It's much more of an informal relationship, and they can help you sort of raise your game by just having the conversations with you. Now, the reason why I say both of them is important because they both serve as really important things in their own right. People don't respect coaches enough because when they think coach, they think business coach, they think maybe a life coach, and maybe someone telling you what to do. No, it doesn't work like that. If you really want to grow as a person, then a coach can really train the way you think, your quality of thoughts, because it all starts with your mindset, which is defined as the established set of attitudes that one has. Mentor can still do the same thing and use coach-like qualities, and they can pull you out in different ways. So I would say, paid or not paid, definitely invest time or money-wise into a coach or mentor. And other things you could do is attend events, go to meetups, and all that kind of stuff there. So that's what I would do systematically to have the right people around you. I would also say friends is important because sometimes you just want to have an informal chat with someone. But make sure that you have, and I'm going to say this very specifically, and I've been saying this for the last 12 months, you have appropriate people in your life. Not the right people. What's right? You know, right for you, yes. But I guess that's what I mean by appropriate, not inappropriate people. They need to be
What do you mean by that? Oh,
yeah, go ahead. So yeah, basically what I mean is they need to have a certain level of emotional intelligence. They need to understand how they feel and how they react to other people. So that's social intelligence as well. They need to have proactive outreach. They need to proactively reach out to you and say, hey, how's it going? How's life? Should we meet up? All of this kind of stuff. They need to also be ambitious because I ain't trying to have bums around me. Do you know what I mean? They always say this, the 5 closest people around you are, you know, determine your success, X, Y, and Z. They need to have that. There needs to be a sense of empathy, okay? They need to be able to put themselves in your shoes. Because if they can't and there's no sense of care, what's the point? You know? And there's a whole host of other stuff that I think of in terms of friendship. I probably might write a book on it as well.
Yes, please. We all need that.
Yeah,
because obviously friends shape us as well. Because some people they can push us to move forward, other people they can stop us, and maybe they're good as a friend, but they're not good for in our lives. You know.
Exactly. And only honesty can allow you to see that. So you know, in situations where sometimes we're like, oh, but they're my friend. Why are they your friend? Out of loyalty based on number of years or based on quality?
Sure.
Sure. And a lot of people are scared to end things, or they're scared to go into conflict because of how it may make them feel. But think about this. So I'm going to get into a practice known as emotional agility. And emotional agility is basically how you respond to different situations. Okay. So to put it in a nutshell, all that really means is we're all going to feel emotions. We're always going to feel emotions. But it's up to us to train ourselves to decide how long we're going to feel that emotion for. So if you feel angry, is it really anger that you're feeling? How are you labeling that? And how are you accepting this feeling in order to move on and develop a plan to know how to react to that in the future? Does that make sense? Yeah. Because sometimes we just direct and we're like, oh, I want to feel this way. This is my authentic self. Is anger your authentic self, or is that a personality that you're exuding? Is that part of your values that you actually want to commit to? You know, so we need to get better at learning how to manage and control how we respond to different situations, and that's what emotional agility talks about.
Okay. And do you think that emotion are like a positive things or negative things in terms of lives in every other aspect of ourselves, like business, friendship, personal? Do you think it's positive or negative?
Neither really. You know, emotions scientifically have been proven to help us make decisions. So we need them. We need emotions. There was a study that was done where the emotional center within the brain of some participants was removed, and it was very hard for them to make decisions. They took ages to decide what they wanted to do. So all that means is emotions define your preferences, what you prefer, you know. So when you decide something, it's because you feel an emotional connection to it, whether that's subconscious or conscious. So with that in mind, emotions can be good or bad. It's how long we allow ourselves to be in that moment. Does that make sense? Yeah. We learn from emotions, whether they are perceived as bad or perceived as good. If you feel angry, at least now you know those things make you feel angry. So you know to avoid or to overcome, however you want to see it. If you are happy from a situation, you know you want to create more moments like that, or at least be in situations where you feel that emotion again. So they could be positive or negative, but we do need them in from an evolutionary point of view.
Thank you for that, because a lot of people, they have a misconception about emotion. I think that rationality is the only way, because you have to, everything you have to think about it, you have to have the knowledge, you have to have the understanding. But it comes, all of this, the knowledge that you have, the understanding that you have, come from external experience. It's not really something personal to you. So with the thing that emotional agility that you said, it starts from within, that we can, you know, understand why we react in a certain way, what we like. So it's something that we never thought about. I personally never thought about it. That I always thought that emotion can be like a weakness, because it allows you to feel in a certain way.
Of course.
But if I say it the way you said it, like it can actually guide me to direct me. You know, I don't have to take that part, because obviously I'm not feeling comfortable in that, or you know, I'm hungry about that, or I'm more, you know, happy with some stuff because I'm understanding, you know, my feelings in that time.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's very deep.
I think sometimes we confuse feeling emotional as a negative thing because of how we use it in society. And so language becomes a very important tool when we sort of shape the way we think. So sometimes we have to go back to definitions. What does that actually mean to me first, and then in a general sense? You know, how is society using that language? And so we have to go back to basics and the foundations.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
So we're gonna listen to some couple of music for now, and then we're gonna go back with Michael. How are you feeling?
Yeah, cool. Feeling good. Feeling good. You?
Yeah, good.
Good.
Still trying to put everything together.
No, it's fine. Yeah, no, it's all interesting stuff. And I just feel like people need to really immerse it, you know.
Are you having any event any soon?
I may do one in March, April. I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
So that one is going to be on leadership. You know, what sort of skills you need for leadership in any setting, you know. And really, I think leadership skills is just basically, how do I explain this? It's just being the best version of yourself that you can be, you know. We normally put leadership into a business or work setting, but you're a leader at home as well. If you've got people around you, you know. And so it's just teaching people that stuff. Yeah.
No, I think you should like do lots of events, because they're very interesting. I was like, wow, I want to listen to this more. No, I'm serious. Because when I found your account, I was like, wow, I really need this stuff. And I think a lot of people should hear more, because you are not trained to do the work inside.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so happy and grateful that you're here.
Thank you.
Seriously.
I appreciate it. And thank you for asking me. I appreciate that. You know.
No, seriously. You have a gift because, as I said, your voice is very, and when you explain, it's very clear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know, like. It's original, it's, as I said, authentic.
Yeah.
I can see that you really experience that.
Yeah.
And it's a combination from your knowledge, but also your experience, something that you believe in, something that you, with your life, you experience, you have felt personally.
Yeah,
it's
no,
not
definitely.
Something that you make up because it sounds cool.
I'd have nothing to say.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely looking to do more stuff.
Yes, please.
So I'll keep everyone updated.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And yeah, if you know of anything, because I'm always looking for places to go and speak and stuff. So
Really?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay.
So if you know of anything, let me know.
Yeah, because the reason why I joined the radio, because I'm an activist as well.
Ah.
So yeah. So we always do events. So now I just joined a group of girls that the collective is called Inside the Girls Mind magazine.
Okay.
So we have different good projects that we want to do.
Yeah.
And we want to launch the first event.
Okay.
So we wanted to have like panelists and speakers.
Yeah.
So if you would like to come.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Like when and where and.
I'm gonna give you the details. If I'm not wrong, it's gonna be in March.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Okay, cool.
And I'll put you in touch with the other ladies.
Yeah, why not?
It's gonna be a big event.
Okay. Yeah, no, sounds good. Yeah, so. Yeah, spread the message, man. Spread the message, you know, just get it out. But you're right, people aren't taught this stuff. And that's usually because the people who are seen to have taught this stuff haven't been taught this stuff. So then it becomes, are we going now or?
No.
Okay. Do you know, I keep on seeing 11, 11, 11. When I looked at it, it said 11, 11, 11. I see it every day.
Do you think it's a sign or something?
It is a sign. I've looked into it. It basically means stay in your path.
Okay.
That's all it means. They're called angel numbers. But that's a different story altogether. So, yeah, they're not taught themselves. And so we just need to break the chain. You know, because like even when we think about Africa and everything else, a lot of things we hear is, oh, it's genetic, it's inherited. What do you mean it's genetic and inherited? Like, how do you know that? In other words, you're basically saying it's habit. It's not the same as genetic. But in their language, what they really mean is it's hard to change. That's what they mean. And so you almost have to be the rock or the strong person walking against the strong tides. You know? But eventually you'll get to the other side and you'll look over that river thinking, wow, I can't believe I was in that before. You know?
Thank you for that.
It's true.
I have this like personal situation with my mom because obviously she's not really understanding the fact that I'm trying to, as I said, attend to myself to try, because I started with languages. I'm from Italy, I've been raised in Italy. So I started with languages, that was the part that I wanted to do, translation, language. But then I slowly moved to a different direction because the events, life, you know, I'm growing up as well. I'm becoming a woman. The perception of life is changing. So she's not really understanding that everything that I do is like equip me to be the, you know, the person that I want to become in order to achieve what I want to achieve. But in her mind is, you have to do this because we have done this, because this is what you're expected to do. It's not something, you know, you have to be in a certain way because it's what is required to be. It's not something that you have to learn who you are and what you want to do. So it's quite difficult for me to let her understand that it's my personal journey. It doesn't have to be yours. It doesn't have to be my grandmother.
Yeah, of course, exactly.
It's something that
you just have to keep on doing what you're doing, you know, and it takes courage. It takes for a person to be brave, you know. So don't ever be disheartened, you know. And of course, you love and respect your mother.
Yeah.
But it's your life, and and she had the grace of, you know, allowing you to come into the world, but it's still yours. That's the hard truth that parents can't deal with, and they'll be like, oh, wait until you're a parent, which is probably true, but you know, it's the truth, you know. So that's just how it is. So yeah, man, you'll be fine.
Yeah. And do your parents agree with what you're doing, or they still want you to be architect?
It took them a long while, but I think they're happy with it now.
Okay.
Yeah, they're fine. If anything, they encourage it.
Oh,
you know?
That's good.
That's good. But it took a while because I was called doctor. The church, everything, you know. I was called doctor. Everyone thought I was going to be some sort of consultant.
Wow.
And one day I said, I'm not doing it. And even when I said, you know, I'm not doing it, people still, it's like they didn't hear me. They were still saying, oh, so when are you finishing your medicine? And I was like, oh, I'm not doing it anymore. And they will still say, oh, but when do you finish? So sometimes it takes time for people to just accept. But your actions and results will say otherwise.
True.
So
that's why, yeah. I was listening to your video this morning, and when you said you are the one who have to believe it before other people can believe it, because they're not gonna always support you. Yeah, that's true.
100%. 100%. You know,
because if we expect other people to support us, we're not going to add approval, so to understand, because obviously we are the one who understand us because we know what we want.
Exactly.
Other people might not really understand what we want.
Yes, exactly.
Because sometimes we personally, I want to, oh no, why she doesn't understand me, why she's not supporting me. You know, you feel fed up, you're not sure anymore. Yeah. But I shouldn't be like that. The result, you know, the success, the product, the work you're doing. Yeah. Might convince that I don't know, but at least you know you're going to.
Exactly. You're doing it for yourself, so that's what's important. And we shouldn't think that, you know, we're being selfish or we're not taking into consideration other people's feelings. If anything, you are, you know, but it's all on you, you know, it's all focused on you. And whether they realize or not, it's not really your problem, it's theirs. It's their problem. You know, cool, let's continue.
Okay, we are back. So we were having like a little conversation in the backstage, and now I want to ask you a couple of questions more. So we were talking about how we start, you know, how we start your journey, how to take inspiration, what's the best people that can surround us. But how do you keep yourself motivated? Because sometimes you're very excited in the beginning, but then you have, you know, challenges or, you know, negative voices, people that are not supporting you anymore, and you might feel lost. So how do you keep yourself motivated to carry on?
It's a very good question. Not a simple one to explain. It could be, but I'm not going to be simple because that's not me. So it comes back to what I was saying before, and you'll realize that I do this a lot. I go back to things that I've said before. You have to know your values. You know, if you don't know what's important to you, then it's very hard for you to navigate through life. It's hard, you know. And so if you know your value is to, I don't know, make people laugh, or your values are you need security, or your values are trust, you will make sure that those things that do not align with those things can't be part of you, because it's not part of your identity. And so that's very important. You need to be clear of what those values are, because that creates meaning. And so meaning develops over a long period of time based on the experiences that you have. And so once you know that, it's not that you have motivation, is that you have more assurance and confidence about who you are as a person. So there's no need to be motivated, because motivated comes from a point of 0 to 1. I don't need numbers. Like I am who I am, you know. And so bearing that in mind, that's important. Another thing that may help is having a sense of purpose. You don't need purpose. Apologies. You don't need purpose, but it's important as a driving mechanism. And all purpose is, in a very simple term, it's a goal. Okay? It's not the same as meaning, it's a goal. So if you're striving towards a purpose and you know what you're about, again, everything you do, or the majority of things that you do, will be aligned to that purpose. So for me, my purpose may be making sure that I help people live an honest life as possible, because I believe it gives them the biggest impact. That's my purpose, okay? So doing stuff like this and writing my books and everything else is derived around that purpose. But also it is congruent to my values as well. So that, again, fortifies my motivation levels, in quotation marks. So that's another thing. And then the practical things, obviously, would be things like learning how to be present through meditation, daily meditation. I use the app Calm. Calm, C-A-L-M.
Okay.
So it's like, what, £29 for the year, and it's guided meditation and sort of nature sounds and all this kind of stuff, just for 10 minutes in the morning, to just keep myself aligned to not getting distracted by what I see on Instagram straight away, you know? That's one thing. So being present is important, because it means that you're not thinking about the future or the past, but you're thinking about the moment. Because if you really think about it, time doesn't exist. Time is just an organization mechanism for humans to organize themselves or actually produce activity. So it's good for that. Einstein will back me with this. Okay. So when you understand that the only thing that you have is the moment, life becomes more important. It becomes way more important. So that's one thing. Other things you could do is read books, listen to audiobooks, listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos. Sometimes Instagram can be really good for motivation as well. And really having a good conversation with friends and some of the other stuff that I was talking about before. So that's how I have become motivated. I don't advise things that I haven't done myself. Well, I usually don't, unless I've heard it and the science backs it or whatever it is. So that's how I do it. But the two most important things for me, values, purpose, those two things keep me motivated.
And I was saying that earlier, because I was deep for the conversation that we had earlier. So what advice can you give to people when, for example, they have people that surround them that are not really supporting their path or the idea or the project or whatever they want to do? What kind of recommendation can you give to them?
So either find people who will support your path, or build the mental resilience. Resilience is so key, and all it basically means to me in a analogy point of view is that you need to prove to yourself that you're not going mad. Does that make sense? You need to prove to yourself that you can actually do what you're doing, and you will do whatever it takes to get it done. And so when I wrote these books, okay,
Can you tell us the title again?
so this is Understand, Reach, Expand, the first one, Desire, the second one, and the third one, Happiness. You can find it on my website, michaeltabaradi.com. And so when I wrote these books, I was invited to a book workshop that basically said, you can do this yourself, but if you pay us, we can help you do it. I said, I'm not paying no one. I'm going to do it myself. And I had this naive idea that I was going to do it within a month or 2 months. It took me 11 months to write the book, but I had no structure to it, in the sense that I was just writing a 950-page manuscript on Google Docs, okay, on my phone. The reason I wrote it on my phone is because my laptop died 2 or 3 months in. So I had to use my phone, because I was like, I'm not going to stop. I got repetitive strain injury in my right hand. So I used my left hand to type. And I started on the 25th of January and stopped at the end of November in 2015, I believe, or 16, one of them, or 17, I think 2017. Yeah. The reason I'm saying that is because I had to be resilient. Nobody was telling me that I could do it or couldn't do it. I was just doing it. I committed to putting in the practice to make sure that I get results. So that's why I got the phrase commit to a cause. Because if you commit to a cause that you care a lot about and it aligns to your values and your idea of purpose, whether you can define it or not, you'll do it. It's end of. But if you're unsure, you need to think, why are you unsure? What's making you unsure? And for most people, based on the people I've coached, it's a confidence thing. They lack confidence,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
They lack confidence because they really take to heart what their loved ones say to them, understandably.
Mm-hmm.
They lack confidence because they see other people doing what seem to be amazing things, but they don't actually know they're amazing things. They lack confidence because they've been told by someone at work that they're not good enough or they're rubbish at what they're doing. So again, those practices that I spoke about before, you need to incept your mind with material that will make you believe that you are confident, okay? Because there's self one and self two talking, the angel and the devil on your shoulder, you know. The devil will tell you all this rubbish and the angel will tell you something else. You need to believe that you are more than your thoughts. You need to believe that you are more than the different personalities that you have. And once you truly, truly, truly believe that, that's when whatever anyone says to you, you don't really hear. Because you know what you're about. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because one time I read something that was saying that you know the thing that you said about the two different angels.
Yeah.
But it's more the one that we feed that becomes stronger.
Yes.
So obviously, if you feed the insecurities, the people that you surround yourself, or you do things that you're not really good at, or you don't do nothing else to improve to get better on that, obviously you're gonna feed the devil, the bad angel, and you're gonna become eventually less confident. But if you feel the other one and you do things that can actually make you feel more confident, you go to places where you can actually learn, you prove yourself, as you said, go to event, workshop, read books. The people that surround yourself, if they're motivated as well, they have that goal driven and all this stuff, they can actually help you to become more confident, because obviously we're different. Some people are more confident than other, but maybe we can. What do you think? Is there a way that we can become more confident, or
of
is
course
something naturally, or is something that you can learn or build?
So we all have tendencies. We in other words, natural states of being. So there's something called the hedonic treadmill.
Okay.
And the hedonic treadmill is just a fancy way of saying that we have a point of happiness. Okay. And so sometimes we go above that point, sometimes we go below that point, but we always come back to it. It's within our DNA, so to speak. However, you can improve your confidence. If you think about what confidence is, it's fear of something. Okay. So usually that fear comes from the fact that you're not seen as good enough. And for most situations, that lack of being good enough is based on lack of information, lack of skills, lack of practice, lack of experience. So the solution to that is to get that information, get that experience, practice what you need to practice to feel more confident. That's the solution for most people, Sometimes people lack confidence because of how they feel. How do you change your feeling? Listen to music. Sometimes that can change your feeling. Or meditation can change your feeling. Having great conversations regularly can change your feeling. Even eating better food. Like, I think it was last year, I paid for a nutritionist. And I paid for a nutritionist. And I just wanted to know, and my girlfriend's gone down this path as well. So she's a nutritionist. She's taken, I'll call her more a health coach to be more specific. And she helps people manage their meals in order to lose weight and just feel better. But originally I went to this nutritionist, and I just want to know what I was intolerant to.
Okay.
And she basically was like, I can produce a meal plan for you. So she produced a meal plan. I lost like 10 kilograms in like 7 weeks because of food. I didn't go to the gym. And the point I'm coming to is that I felt different. I felt like I had energy. I felt more confident. I felt like I could do more things. If I wanted to run for the bus in the morning, I could, all because of how I changed my diet. So sometimes it's changing your state through music or something else or other people, or changing your practice, and sometimes you have to many of the times you have to do physically to train your brain how to start thinking differently. And that's where, how I said I don't believe in forcing things? Sometimes in that situation, maybe you do have to force it. See how far you can go.
Yeah. Also, you were saying, about the music. Which kind of music do you listen that can help you?
So if I'm looking for a vibe, having a good time, Afrobeats all day, you know, definitely. But if I'm looking to, when I'm driving in a car, I listen to nothing, or I listen to classical. And I was telling someone this the other day, they're thinking, oh, you're a weirdo, you know. But I just feel like classical calms me down. It allows me to think or just not think at all. And I don't feel like my blood pressure is raised or my heart is racing because I'm listening to an Afrobeats tune and I'm getting into it, not concentrating. So classical calms me down. Sometimes where I want to get distracted whilst I'm working, I'll listen to nature sounds as well. So things like, it sounds weird, but like the forest or rain. Like some people love listening to rain, you know. And so these are practices that maybe not many people do, but can really, really help if they tried it, because it gets you to a state of calm, you know. And I think it's hard for us to get to that state, especially in this egocentric, narcissistic, audio society where we're heavily focused on what the next person is doing on the gram or online or whatever it is, or we're seeing whatever's in the news. And so we need to put in mechanisms that allow us to just slow things down and see life for what we truly think it is.
Okay, one more question. Since you said that your own work that you do is based on authenticity, but how do you think we can keep that while we're using like social media, to be authentic to ourselves and not be, you know, influenced by what other people are doing, or you know, social media?
Yeah, it's a good question. So can you be 100% authentic? I would like to say no. You know, 100% of anything, does that exist truly? Don't know, that's a philosophical question. But what I can say is, if you're a content creator, produce things that make sense for you and your audience. Your ultimate audience is you. So do it for you, okay? So when you're doing a video, how do you feel when you're doing the video? Does it feel genuine? Does it feel like you're lying to anyone? Are you saying anything that's untrue? Are you trying to make yourself seem bigger than you are? Because if so, that's not being authentic, you know? Are you ready to do videos? And if you're not, don't do them. Obviously, I agree, you have to push yourself and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But you need to get to a space where it feels natural, you know? And that's what I mean by authenticity. Now, if you are on social media, there's always going to be a sense of ego that flies around, or a sense of, oh, I want to do more, or I want to do this because this person's doing that, blah, blah, blah. But every time you think those thoughts, just think to yourself, is it serving the true me? Is it serving me? And if it's not serving you, don't do it.
Sure. Okay, so let me put more music and I'm going to come back. Oh.
Yeah.
I'm reflecting everything you're saying.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no, really. Because not a lot of people talk about this. Because I think sometimes many people they know, but they know there's not really something that can be accepted. Because most of people, especially now with media, social media, most of people are not authentic because they have to sell some stuff.
Yes.
Or, you know, so I don't want to do names, but we know, like some influencers or some music artists and stuff. So, and I think young people that try to imitate this kind of lifestyle, so everyone is kind of fake. And I'm a person that listens a lot, so I have a lot of conversation, and I managed to, it's not because I want, but people, they feel like they can open up to me, so they become personal. And then you see that the old mask that they build, just, you know, fall off, and they become more authentic, you know. And then you see that lots of people actually suffering because of the marks they have put in, because they can't really be themselves, because they're now scared. They're being like this kind of character of themselves, and they can no longer, you know, come out because they're scared that if I'm gonna be myself, maybe, you know, some people they're gonna, you know, leave me or whatever. So what you're saying is basically the reverse of what the society is keep on telling us, that you have to be in a certain way, you have to be, you know, instead of being yourself and try to find out how you can be the best version of yourself, how to be confident by practicing, by gaining real knowledge, not pretending, acting confident, but maybe you're not.
Yeah.
All this stuff. So it was affecting. I was like, wow. You have lectures about this in uni.
I
have like a subject, personal development.
Okay.
It's quite interesting. I had a module that was a couple of things that you were saying, but not really that deep. It was more in academical sense.
I see.
Focus, motivation, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But working within ourselves is something that I don't think I hear often that we should. Yeah, that's something important.
Yeah, no, at some point, I'm definitely going to. I want to launch an academy. You know, it will start off online for now because of logistics and everything else. But I want to teach this stuff, you know, and it's hard to quantify what it is. But yeah, stuff around just how do you become the master of your life? You know, how do you own it? So yeah, that will come out at some point. Yeah, it just takes time.
Yeah. I can't wait for that.
Thank you.
Really, keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to say? Because I think we're concluding.
Okay. No, we can just round it off. You could maybe. Is there any advice that I would give? And then tell people where they can find me and stuff.
I think I have everything written. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, really, yeah. Just we can just be easy about it.
Okay.
But yeah, before I go, which one do you want? Should we do it on the radio or?
Oh yeah, let's do it on the radio.
Okay, I'll let you decide then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll put them in order actually.
Is it chronological order?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Are they connected to each other?
Well, originally they were supposed to be chapters of a book. So you remember I was saying I was writing that book? That was all of them, but I didn't realize. Yeah, I know. So there's 7 more.
Oh really?
Yeah. But I need.
So did you already finish the old book?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So, but obviously there was spelling mistakes and grammar and all this kind of stuff. So.
You was in your mobile phone.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the first time I've seen Google Docs move slow. So yeah, so this is technically chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Yeah.
I need this one. I might go for this one.
Okay.
But this that you can find it on Amazon. So
yes.
I can buy the.
Yeah.
When do you think you're gonna,
launch
publish
the next one?
Yeah.
So I don't know about the 4th one, but I'll publish my next book maybe February, end of February.
Okay, soon.
Yeah. So I was working on it last night.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy for it. This will give really practical tools, really practical models, tools, systems that people can use.
Yeah.
Stuff that we spoke about here before.
Yeah.
Whether it's in a work setting or personal setting, you know. So I'm excited for it. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we're gonna close with that. You're gonna tell us more how we can find you and how your mentorship or coaching works. Because I think lots of people are actually doing it. They're looking for a coach for personal stuff or for enterprises as well. So I think it's important that you say how you do it. So
cool. Yeah. Fine. Perfectly fine.
Thank you again.
Yeah, no problem. I love doing this anyway, so I just love spreading the message, you know. Like you said, people need to hear it. Yeah. And they don't hear it enough.
No. I think all this is because I don't know if it's because they wasn't talking about it enough, or just because maybe is increasing, but there's a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
And I think that with all this positive thought that we're doing and inspiring people to just relax, know themselves better before trying to know other people,
Yeah.
and be yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe this can help us to, you know, to come to the way of, you know, mental happiness, mental, you know, health.
Yeah.
For this.
Yeah, no, definitely. People are scared to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
and people don't want to be too serious because it means they have to think about their lives. That's what people are scared of.
Yeah, they're distracted. They keep this. That's why I ask you about emotion, because as I said, I have a lot of personal conversation with people.
Okay.
Okay, we are back. So, Michael, can you tell us more about, you know, your coaching program, your mentoring program? Because obviously the time is almost finishing.
Mhm.
But in case we want to know more, how can we find you, and which kind of, you know, what kind of service can you provide us as well?
Okay, so I'm a coach, an executive coach, and a lot of my formal training, I'm going through a lot more formal training right now with a company called TPC Leadership. They got fantastic trainers there. And basically, I help people determine their purpose, find meaning, improve their confidence levels, develop their confidence skills, really unleash the leader within. And so usually what happens is we sit down for as long as possible to have a free initial coaching session to really dive deep into what it is that you're aiming to do as a person. And if you felt like that session benefits you, then we would go on to talk about how you can sort of like commit to actually changing and transforming your life, so to speak. So that's how it works. Usually there's a minimum of 6 sessions. If you feel like you want to do more, then you can do more. That's totally up to you. As a side service as well, which I've fallen back on more because I'm focusing more on the coaching stuff. Some people ask me for like personal branding or business mentorship. So if people want help with that, I can have a strategy session with them that won't be free, obviously, and just basically help them develop the right sort of strategies to moving towards building their personal brand and their information or service-based business. So it's very specifically for those who are service-based individuals, for those who are trying to develop their information products, or just basically boost their personal brand as an individual. I'm not really e-commerce, so I don't want people to get the wrong idea. I'm not necessarily sort of like tech as well. I'm very specific to service-based individuals and personal brands as well. And anyone who needs a brand to get themselves out there and wants to monetize it. So I offer those services as well. Obviously, I deliver daily pretty much content on Instagram, so you can find me there. I will be doing some live webinars at some point, probably every 2 months. I'm still undecided, so things around leadership, friendship, things around emotional intelligence, how to be a coach, a better coach and mentor. So stuff around that stuff. So they can all find that on my Instagram, and I'm sure you've got all the links provided as well for people.
Oh, yeah. Can you just refresh for 1 second?
Yeah, so they can go on my website at michaeltabaradi.com. They can also go on shorby.com/Michael Tabaradi. So Shorby is spelled SHORBY. If you can't find it, it's the link in my Instagram bio as well. And yeah, you can check out all my blog articles, videos, all of that kind of stuff. And things for the future, I may start a podcast, just a sort of like motivational one, just to get people in the mind, just quick snippets in the morning. And like I said to you before, looking to set up some sort of academy in the future, but I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to say too much, but people can basically get my services more regularly. But there's no rush.
Because that's what we need. I was telling you that we are so grateful that he is with us, because obviously we need to hear this conversation more, and we need to spread the conversation about authenticity, because we cannot start from outside. We have to start within. So we are really thankful for people as Michael, because they're helping us, to achieve our goals, but starting from ourselves, something to be like personal to ourselves, not comparing ourselves to. Obviously, we can get inspiration from other people, but you have to be us.
Yes.
Has to be, So we're gonna put all the details where you can find, all the your website, your personal social media and stuff, and also the name of the book in case somebody want to have read your books.
Yes, and before I forget, you can choose one book that you want to take away.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, choose any one.
Happiness.
Happiness,
Yes.
yeah? Okay, cool.
Thank you very much.
And you can get the other two as well.
You must be joking.
Go ahead, it's fine, I've got plenty.
My God, thank you.
No problem at all.
Thank you. We're gonna post this one as well, so in case you want to have the titles, I'm gonna give you my personal feedback.
I love it.
Yeah, before we leave, there's something else that you would like to share with us? I'll let you know.
Just quick takeaways. Just make sure that, number one, you stay true to your values and discover what those are. Number two, define what purpose you are giving yourself in your life. And sometimes your purpose is finding your purpose, or at least establishing your purpose, should we say. You don't find it. And number three, I would say commit to the cause. Commit to the cause, commit to the cause, because once you commit, once you're consistent, things will start to change and you will start to create what I call honest impact. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you again for staying with us. And this was Loud. See you next week with more music and new content. Bye.